We know you have a lot of ways you could be spending your time, and it means so much to us that you're here for Castle Hills Christian Church, online church. We encourage everyone to minimize distractions, to grab a Bible, and to prepare your heart and mind to worship, learn, and fellowship together online. Later in the service, we'll be taking communion together, so we encourage you to grab some bread and some juice to prepare for that later on in the service. We're asking everyone to fill out a connection card at chccsa.info. There you'll find all kinds of other information about our church. We'd love to connect with you at chccsa.info. Let's worship together.
I choose to worship. I choose you now. Though there's pain in the offering, I lay it down. And here in the conflict, when doubt surrounds, though my soul is unraveling, I choose you now. And I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy. You are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my song. I build my altar right here and now. In the midst of the darkest night, it won't burn out. For you are perfect, no matter what. In joy or the suffering, I sing it loud. So I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy. You are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my song. When the enemy says I'm done, I lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I lift my praises. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. When the enemy says I'm done, I lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I lift my praises. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. And I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy. You are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my song. When the enemy says I'm done, I lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I lift my praises. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. Oh, I choose to worship you. I choose you now. Oh, I choose you now.
Happy Father's Day, CHCC. I'm here today with David Gareth. He's one of our elders and also one of my good friends. His wife, Sonia, helped bring the message on Mother's Day, and we're going to talk a little bit about parenting today. But to start off on Father's Day, David, I thought I would ask you to tell me about maybe one of your funniest or favorite parenting stories.
Yeah, for sure. It's maybe not necessarily a funny story, but how about a fun time in our lives? So when Aiden was, when he was a little guy, like 2 to 3 years old, he used to love to get up around 5 to 5:15 every morning.
And both of you guys, you love early mornings, right? Isn't that like your favorite time?
It's our favorite time of the day. We love getting up that early. So every day when Aiden would get up, Sonia and I would take turns with him, but we also found a way to enlist help to work with him around that time in the morning. So every day Aiden would come to our room, we'd go into the living room, and with the help of a quirky dancing, crazy song singing, Sesame Street living, you guys probably know where I'm going with this, character by the name of Elmo, he would help to keep Aiden entertained while the coffee was flowing, because again, that 5 to 5:15 a.m. spot is our favorite time of the day.
And I'm sure you'll never forget Elmo in your life, just
Love
because how he helped you out. Well, I have a story, and it's not funny to me. It's probably more gross than anything else. But my wife was teaching at night, several nights a week, and one of our boys was pretty small at the time. And I thought, man, this is pretty easy. I mean, you play with them just a little bit, you feed them a little bit, you rock them a little bit, they go to sleep, no big deal. I mean, this is pretty easy. I mean, it's the nighttime routine, no problem. And until one day I hear one of the boys crying, and I go into the room and I smell this ungodly smell. I mean, like, this sweet little boy, how can this smell come from him? And then I walk over and he has had a blowout. And I'm talking like it is outside the diaper, on his clothes, on the sheets, on the wall. And I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I have this huge gag reflex, and man, I was dying. I mean, it was not a pretty picture. And it was like one of those moments that come to you like, man, this fatherhood stuff is really, really tough. And so I'm changing him and trying to get a new outfit and trying to wipe it off the walls and trying to get new sheets there and trying to soak the sheets. And I'm just like, I had a whole new appreciation for my wife. Now, I thought this would be just like a one-time thing, but as time went on, each one of my boys had one of these moments with me. And I'm pretty convinced that my wife was feeding them something to pay me back for maybe the way that I had treated her, or she was getting me back for something. And so that was my moment that just really, as a father, just was kind of welcome to fatherhood. Well, on Mother's Day, some of you remember, we began to talk about some of the stages and seasons of parenting. And we talked about keeping parenting with the relationship in mind. And today we're really going to talk about the weight of our words as parents. But just a kind of a quick reminder of some of those seasons that we talked about. We talked about the caregiver phase or stage or seasons. And that was birth to 5 years old, where we're taking care of our kids. And it seems like that season will last forever. And there's a lot of interruptions during this season. And then the training season is ages 5 to 12. And it's a fun time of where you're teaching and helping your kids realize certain things. And today we're going to talk about the coaching season, ages 13 to 18. I know David has a son that's in this range, and so he's in the season. And then we'll be talking about the consultant season, which is 18 plus. And I have a couple of boys that are in this season. And then I said last time on Mother's Day that the bonus stages, your children begin to parent you and they become your caregiver. And so we better be nice to our kids, because you just never know. I mean, they're going to be taking care of us. And before we go any further, I just want to say David and I, we're not expert parents. Our kids are not perfect. We're not perfect. But we're just two guys who love Jesus that want to share with you some things that we have learned about parenting over the years. And so, David, why don't you tell us just a little bit about coaching and what coaching looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So coaching, so as Ronnie mentioned, guys, that's between the ages of 13 to 18. So in this stage, kids are forming their own identity, how they want their peers to perceive them. They desire more independence from mom and dad. And that's just a natural part of growing or moving towards independence. So what does coaching look like? You are giving loving guidance. You're guiding them to build healthy habits, create routines and rituals. You start talking about alcohol, tobacco, sex, all of the uncomfortable things in the world. As a coach, you're preparing your child for life. You are encouraging them, you are praying for them, giving them the tools to succeed. This transitional phase involves less of doing from us and more so guidance for them. You spend time, in years prior, you would spend the years planning everything for them, right? The play dates, the doctor's appointments. But when your child starts this journey into adulthood, they need help navigating and not for you to make the decisions. So in this phase, we must remember these two words: letting go. Now that's hard, but we got to remember those words, letting go. So you've trained them. Now it's time to start nudging them towards the edge of the nest to test and refine their training to make sure that they're ready to fly when the time comes. So start your transition when kids are in middle school. Let go of controlling everything and allow them to start creating and setting their own schedules. Coach your children to advocate for themselves. Have them talk to their teacher before you get involved. Let them figure out how to resolve issues at work, at church, at school. Have them set up their own doctor's appointments, especially once they learn how to drive. So in this phase, you may also have to work really hard on the relationship. Your child no longer thinks that you're the smartest person in the world, right? And you are often probably not the biggest influence in their lives. Now it's their friends. Maybe it's something they're seeing on social media. Hormones. Let me say that again. Hormones. Sometimes it's hard to have relationships because of busy schedules, the stress of schools, extracurricular activities, etc. So one thing that I'm trying to work on with Aiden, Aiden's in this range, right? He's 15. So we're practicing driving. So the other day in the church parking lot, we worked on our donuts. Just kidding, Ryan. So it can be hard when in this situation to not jerk the wheel, right? Or yell at him to stop. So what I had to do was put on my patient pants and let him do his thing. I was just there to offer guidance, to coach him. So what can we do as a parent with the relationship in mind? So on Mother's Day, as Ronnie mentioned before, we talked about how time was important. But again, today, we want to point out the importance of words. Jesus was a skilled conversationalist who used language to love others well. He was intentional and he was thoughtful when he spoke. He listened well. He met people where they were at. He looked for ways to connect to people. He communicated by asking questions. When the Pharisees and other religious leaders questioned Jesus, we see more often than not, Jesus replied back with another question. Why do you think he asked so many questions? Maybe it was to help encourage others. Maybe it was to create conversations. Maybe he knew questions built relationships. In Mark 10, verse 51, Jesus asks a blind beggar what he wants him to do for him. As parents, questions can be helpful as we are building relationships with our children. And you might have check-ins with your child. Something simple like, hey, how is so-and-so doing, right? Do you have any more big tests happening this week? Do you think you're getting enough sleep? Are you reading anything interesting in the Bible? Has Richard, shout out to you, Richard, has Richard said anything that has challenged you? Or something as simple as, do you need anything from me? Now, let me caution you guys, you don't want to ask too many questions. Give your children room to breathe. Some days, they will feel like responding. Other days, not so much. Sometimes our conversations get more difficult at this stage too. Find out what your child is passionate about and learn about it. Get interested in it. Their music, their hobbies, extracurricular activities. So I know for Ronnie, he can't play the guitar for anything. Sorry, Ronnie.
I can't.
But one thing I do know about Ronnie is he spent a lot of time going to music stores, looking at guitars, learning about guitars for his boys. He's not an expert, but at least he knows enough to help to have those types of conversations. Like I mentioned to you guys before, Aiden and I are practicing driving. So trying to carve out time to spend that time in the car, even though it can be scary with Aiden, it's definitely vital, right, to build those relationships. So let me summarize a couple key points from this coaching season. One is to coach, right? Be there for them. Two, this can be a hard one, try not to micromanage. 3, take a deep breath with me. Let go. Let go. Said that twice, right? And then learn about their interests, right? And that helps to start a conversation. So we're going to jump into the final phase or the final season. Ronnie's going to bring it to us. And he's setting up essentially what Sonia and I are going to be transitioning to here in the next couple years. So to be honest with you guys, I don't know if I should be scared or excited, but let's see what Ronnie has to say.
Yeah, so we move into that consultant, counselor phase, and it can be a really challenging stage. You kind of think, oh man, everything else is easy, or maybe you think it's actually hard, and then all of a sudden you move into this phase, and I found it actually to be pretty challenging. And this is a stage that you release your kids to be mature, responsible adults. You hope that you've taught them well, you hope that you've given them good lessons, and their biggest need is space. And so we've been so used to helping them out with so many different things. And even in those teenage years, we're trying to give them space. But in that adult years, we need to give them even more space. We need to let go and just trust God with our children. And right now, one of the key things that they need the most is support. I remember reading a book a few years ago that was talking about parenting our adult children. It was called Doing Life with Your Adult Children. Keep your mouth shut and the welcome mat out. And that's just kind of always stuck with me. Keep your mouth shut and the welcome mat out. And that's just such a great reminder to not constantly give advice and my opinion about everything that's going on in their life. If we give our opinions constantly, it's going to become white noise to them anyway, and they're going to shut us out. And this stage needs to be a judgment-free zone. Planet Fitness's motto is welcome to the judgment-free zone. Well, with our kids, we need to give them room to make mistakes without constantly judging them. We need to give them room. And you're probably not going to agree with everything that they do in their life, and your parents probably didn't agree with everything that you did in your life either. But we need to give our kids space to be able to make decisions and make mistakes. You know, my dad has really been a terrific role model with this to me. He gives me room to ask for advice, but it's okay when I don't listen to him. And even when I don't listen to him, he doesn't get mad. He just lets me kind of go through life, and if I make mistakes, he's there to encourage and support me, but he's not going to necessarily rescue me from the mistake that I've made. And I've always tried to keep that in mind, is be available to listen, to ask questions, to help out my kids. But at the same time, I have to give them space to live and to kind of go through life. And Andy Stanley says it this way: don't bail, basically don't bail them out, let them fail. Don't bail, but let them fail. And I think we're talking about it in this phase, but it probably goes in all the seasons of life. And sometimes we need to make sure that we give our kids room to fail, to mess up. And sometimes failure is one of the biggest lessons in life. And it can be one of the greatest teachers. Are there times that we as parents, we need to step in and help out in a situation? Yes, but it shouldn't be something that happens on a regular basis. Now, Ronnie, you might be saying, now, Ronnie, my situation is a little bit different. My adult children are living with me. How do I navigate this? And let me say this, multi-generational houses, they're awesome. I mean, I think there's something that's really amazing about this. Not only are you helping each other out financially, but helping each other out emotionally and mentally. And there's just a lot of helpful things that happen when we have these multi-generational households. But there's also challenges. And every situation is different. But let me just give you a few tips. One, set expectations. Make sure everyone understands the expectations. For example, Elijah, who's living with us, well, we expect him to clean up his bathroom and to take out the trash and to help around the house. He's going to fix supper from time to time. For you, maybe it's having that person pay some bills or picking up groceries or mowing the yard or doing some babysitting. Like, just set the expectations and put those out there and kind of have that agreement in place. Another important part is communication. You have to constantly communicate. Listen well. Think before you speak. Have those hard conversations. And find the right time to have those hard conversations. Sometimes you just need to sit down and say, hey, we're going to talk about something a little bit difficult, and we just need to all get on the same page. Words are important. Some words weigh more than others. And what I found is the words from us as parents weigh a lot more than some of the words from other people. The words that come out of our mouth, we need to be very careful. And I'm reminded of Proverbs 18:21. It says, the tongue can bring death or life. It can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. Basically, when we talk all the time, the chances of us speaking words that will harm greatly increases. And so when we're talking to our kids, we need to ask ourselves, are these words encouraging? Are these words healing? Do these words bring life to our kids? Think about this past week. Did your words add life to a child's life, or did it actually harm them? Did your words encourage them? Did your words inspire them? Jenna Bush shares how her father, former President George W. Bush, texts a Bible verse every morning to her and her sister. And basically her sister was going through a messy breakup, and he began sending these Bible verses to him. And she talked about how big of an impact that made. Now, I don't send a Bible verse to my kids every day, but from time to time, I try to send them something encouraging. I'll text message them and let them know, hey, I'm proud of you, or you know what, you did this awesome, or I just want you to know I love you for who you are, not for what you do. And sometimes my kids will give me a thumbs up sign, or sometimes they'll say thanks, or sometimes they don't even respond. And sometimes I'm like, are they even reading these? But recently, one of my kids said, Dad, I pay attention to those, and I actually show them to my friends. And they really encouraged me, so please don't stop sending those. And it just reminded me, our words as parents have a great weight, and we need to be very careful about how we use our words. And let me end by telling you a story about a man named Joshua. He's in the Old Testament. He's a great example to us as parents. He was at the end of his life, and after faithfully leading the Israelites with children and grandchildren listening in, he gave this final speech in Joshua 24:14-15. It says, so fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in the land who you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. Let's pray that our families will know the Lord and so serve him wholeheartedly. Our kids are watching us. Our kids are watching us, and they're watching the words and listening to the words that we say. And so I hope that as fathers, especially, if I could just talk to the dads for a few minutes, just remember the words that you say are making a great impact on your kid's life. In a few moments, we're going to have communion, and Dave's going to talk to us a little bit about as we move into this time.
So with communion, guys, we reflect on Jesus and what he did for us on the cross. This is essentially just a personal remembrance where we don't have to focus on the laws and perfection. Our only focus is on Jesus. Jesus died for us willingly, all because he chose us, and he wants to build a relationship with us. Will you guys pray with me? Heavenly Father, first and foremost, thank you for this day and for just another opportunity to continue to study and learn your word, Father. Father, as we work on building these relationships with our children, we ask that you continue to just give us the wisdom to help to coach our kids, to let certain situations go. And at the same time, Father, as we build these relationships, the conversations we have, right? The words that we use are very important. And we ask that we do that wholeheartedly, Father. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Abraham. You're the God of covenant and faithful promises. Yeah, time and time again, you have proven you'll do just what you say. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Seasons change, you remain the same. God from age to age, though the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Yeah, history can prove there's nothing you can't do. You're faithful and true. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. As I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation, he'll never let me down. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation, he'll never let me down. He'll never let me down. Oh, I'll still bless you in the middle of the storm, in the middle of my trial. I'll still bless you when I'm in the middle of the road and I don't know which way to go. I'll still bless you. I got a reason, I will bless you. I'll still bless you. You've been faithful. You've been faithful. Yeah. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. And great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me.
We're excited to know that some of you are ready to take some next steps in your faith journey. We want to come alongside you, support you, and equip you through this process. chccsa.info is your central hub for all next steps. You want to submit a prayer request, talk to someone about getting baptized and giving your life to Jesus, or you're looking for a place to serve or a place to get connected to our church, chccsa.info is a great place to start for all these next steps. Some of you call Castle Hills Christian Church your home. And if that's you and you want to continue to partner with us financially as we serve both here in San Antonio and around the world, you can go to give.chccsa.com, or you can text the message GIVE to the number 210-903-5440. Thank you for your support. We're so glad that you're here today, and we hope to see you next week.